on in some other areas. And so, yeah, while you do all you can, you just have to, as much as possible. I did tell a couple of people some time ago, some days ago as well, that look, yes, this is the festive season, this is Christmas Day, and that's why we're doing all we can. But, you know, you have to be alive because there are several other Christmases that you have to be aware of so you don't miss out. So just take it easy, just take it all in, and then you will proceed. So today we're asking, look, in light of all of this, I mean, yes, you started out highlighting the challenges, how people need to adapt to change, which is not easy anyway. Tell us, describe in one word if you can. Now, it'll get you thinking. What does Christmas mean to you? And who knows? I wonder how people will go about this one, because you really need to think deep. It's one word. Tweet at us, because we will look at those tweets as we progress. What does it mean to you after all these years?
Well,
have you ever thought about that anyway?
Well, two words come to mind for me. But
oh, two? That's more than one.
No, I said one word, conclusive, another word, conclusive, so I don't have to put the two together. But maybe when we speak with our guests now, maybe we'll be able to get to that one.
Yeah, so go ahead.
He might give you some clues.
So you could tweet at us, just mention that. What does it really mean? Just think deep. Look, in spite of all that's going on, you may want to take a step back. What does it actually mean to me?
Whether we like it or not, whether you see it that way or not, Christmas has some significance, and we'll get into that in a bit. But
yeah,
for now, where you are, what you're doing right now, forget about all of the, I think, you know, the Chamberlain is making sense in that one, in asking, what does Christmas mean to you? Say it now. We'll have a clue soon, but what does Christmas mean to you now?
Yep.
Irrespective of whatever, historically or futuristically, what does it mean
So
to
don't
you?
worry, nobody's judging anybody. It's a free day.
It's not an examination.
Ignore all the noise around you. It's your day. You have a right to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's Christmas Day, and today we're talking about the essence of Christmas. Maybe you could get an expo.
Exactly what I mean.
So we've got a venerable of the Anglican Church, Adeyemi Agbelusi. Thank you very much indeed for coming out this morning, sir. Good to see you. So, well, what a day it's been. How are you looking at all that's going on, taking it all in, and talking about Christmas? Is there any challenge to still put out that message, even in consideration of the times that we're in now?
Thank you very much, Chamberlain and Ayo. It's awesome to be here. And I wish you and all your viewers a Merry, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems the message of Christmas is probably misplaced while we're celebrating in the midst of doom and gloom. But then the reality of Christmas is obvious in the lights and the celebrations and the festive mood that we find ourselves in. What do I mean by that? Christ, whom we celebrate today, is the light of the world. And when does the light shine brightest? It shines brightest when it is dark. So the darkness of the world at this time is the real reason why the message of Christmas is even more relevant. That in the midst of the darkness of this world, there is a ray of light. And that light is the hope that we aspire for and the hope that we celebrate. So yes, the Christmas message is even more relevant in December 2020.
One of the things a number of people are going to be wondering is, especially for those who have seen better Christmases. I saw, well, better Christmases, you know, I mean, based on your analysis or analogy. I saw a picture on my WhatsApp status. Somebody just put up Idumota in its innocent days. So, you know, but for those who have seen, you know, Christmas, you know, have enjoyed it much better and all of that, and they're now comparing, what would you be telling those people who are feeling Christmas is no longer the same, or rather Christmas celebration is no longer the same as before?
Yes, the celebration of Christmas in terms of the economic and the enjoyment part of it is no longer the same. There's this message going around recently that, how come Christmas was so much fun when we were kids? And the answer was, you know, because it wasn't your money. so obviously, you know, so you had the gifts, you had the chocolates, you had the chicken, you had the rice, and you didn't buy any of it. So now as an adult, you're providing, and it's a bit more tense. So yes, Christmas seems to be more gloomy because of the obvious economic downturn in the world. So people who aspire to celebrate not just the birth of Christ, which we celebrate, but even the end of the year, the actual fact that you've lived from January to December and that you are at the brink of another year. The year is turning very soon. So people want to celebrate that in terms of, what they eat, what they drink, what the gatherings they have. Yeah. And that really is why it looks a bit more on a lower key, because they don't have the economic power to do so.
Okay, it's actually very, very interesting. But then another thing, you permit me to take you to your constituency. Okay. Another thing that usually happens at Christmas is that Christmas Eve service. I remember as a young man, as a small boy, not even young, as a small boy, we'll go to church. You have to have, Christmas performances. You have to have drama. Come on, you have to have drama. And you had to have, singing and all those activities, at church and all of that. It would seem that, things has kind of, slowed down a little in recent years.
Well, I won't say it's just slowed down. The reality is that for the church, the new year starts in sometime at the end of November to early December. So it's actually 4 weeks to Christmas. It's always 4 weeks to Christmas. So it's movable. It's called the Advent season, or the 4 weeks to Christmas countdown. So the church has been preparing for Christmas for the last 4 weeks. It used to be a time of penitence and sober reflection. But the church later in his doctrine changed it to a time of expectation. And that's why we say, the word Adventus means the advent, the coming. So we celebrate the coming of Christ in the past. We celebrate it now. I also look forward to his coming in the future. So yes, in this period of Advent and expectation, we have the carols, we have the readings, and we have the preparation of our hearts, really. I think the third Sunday of Advent is usually the forerunner, which is the celebration of John the Baptist. For us, we're in the church calendar. We're in what we call the lectionary. 9 months ago in the church, we had the conception of Mary. That was about around the period of what you said, it was Mother's Day. That's what the Annunciation of Mary. So Mary was pregnant 9 months ago. Now she has the baby. And so for us, we're not in the Gregorian calendar of January to December. We're actually in the spiritual calendar. So for us, yes, Advent prepares us for Christ, and Advent has brought us to where we are today. And yes, we have a lot of carols, a lot of singing to remind ourselves of whose birth we celebrate. Because if you're celebrating his birth now, and you don't understand why he was really born, then there's no purpose. It's meaningless.
But the message is the same. Yeah. Christmas, the essence of Christmas, the reason why we celebrate, it's the same year on year, age after age. But we've seen now that the times have changed. So where are we in trying to ensure that, because at the time that people couldn't physically converge, certain things will drop in terms of the lifestyle of people, how you keep up with perhaps the messages you've heard over the years, because, people encourage themselves when they gather and share certain things. Where are we in trying to ensure that, in spite of what has changed with the times, we keep up with the message? We ensure that the essence is not lost on us, probably as a church, and seeing that society looks up to the church to ensure that that Christ-likeness doesn't leave in spite of all that's happening.
Okay, that's a great question. If I hear you well, you're saying that how does the church in the age of modernity preserve the message of Christmas? Now, the church hasn't always celebrated Christmas. Christ united time into one. So we celebrate an intervention, a division of time. So we have the BC, because when Christ was born, about 5 BC, and we have the AD, before Christ came and after Christ came. So now we're talking of 2020 AD, so 20 years after Christ was born. So the celebration of Christmas is actually something that the church adopted along the line. Why? Remember that the printing press just came on less than 2 centuries ago. So 6 centuries ago, sorry. So about the 15th century, the Gutenberg press came on, and people started having access to the Bible and to scriptures to know the message. So how did the church preserve this in the earliest times? So that's why we had the lectionary, the spiritual year of the church, where we go through the life of Christ, from his birth to his death, to his resurrection, to Pentecost, and that was where we preserved it. If you go to many of the old churches, you see the murals and the stained glass, telling the stories to people who could not read Hebrew or Greek, languages in which the scriptures were written, so that they could understand this message. And then certain dates were picked, so that people could commemorate those dates and ask the simple question, so what happened today? So we celebrate the birthday of a king. Who is the king? The king of the world. How is he the king of the world? So we have a Socratic questioning to the aim of getting to the real spirituality of what Christmas is. So Christmas is the intervention of God into humanity. In what St. Athanasius talks about the fusion of two states of being in an hypostasis. So you have God and you have man. So Christ unites God and man into one union. It doesn't take godhood into manhood, it doesn't take manhood into God. It's one union. And that is what we call the incarnation. God becoming flesh. So that's what we celebrate at Christmas. It's a mystery that we can't understand. But if you look at, for instance, in 1987, there's a story of a baby, Jenna, in the US, who fell into an 8-inch pipe, and she was 22 feet under the ground. And she was a toddler. Now, nobody said, oh, she should come out of the pipe or send her instructions on how to climb out. What did they do? For 58 hours, miners and the government and the fire and the police were drilling down to get that girl out. And 58 hours later, they rescued her. So God looked at humanity, who fell in the Garden of Eden, and they decided that, look, I need to go down there and rescue them. So Christmas was that rescue operation when God came among us and he showed us who God is. And so all our misconceptions about God, on my way this morning, I Googled God. 2.63 billion hits on Google. That's 2.6 billion web pages on Google about God. Now, what is God? 2.7 billion hits on what is God. So people are searching. People don't understand why they are here, the origin, the meaning of their lives. And so Christmas breaks through the darkness and the misconception of who God is, what we understand about our lives, and most importantly, our future, our eternity. We all know that we are not going to be erased after we die. I mean, I look at people like the Oni Orisha in Ife, talk about the ancestors of 6,000 years, and I wonder, so people are sitting down in a shrine for 6,000 years waiting for you to come and venerate them. And but it just tells you that in every tradition, people know that after this life, we continue to exist. So in preparing for that existence, we need to have someone guide us. So Christ came as the way to show us the way that we will live and enter into an eternity with God in a relationship. So this is an intervention that we have.
But you see, to tail Chamberlain's question, one of the major challenges people would have in sustaining, or rather retaining this lesson, is the realities that they have to face on a daily basis. Bringing those realities into this eternal reality that you are talking about now, it's a tough call. Before I get into that eternity, I need to face this reality. What's the bridge?
Beautiful. Nothing has changed. When Christ was born, of course, you said you've heard the stories, he was born not in a palace, he was born in a manger. In other words, there was no room for him. In fact, there was a census ordered by the government to go home and be counted. So it was on the day of the census that he was actually born into the world. And it was the hustle and the bustle. His mom, instead of Mary, instead of Joseph, and all the turmoil, where the Magi who came, he had to run into Egypt, Herod tried to kill him. 2 days from now, the church will be celebrating the massacre of the innocents. Children who were killed by Herod because of Christ. So the world has always been in turmoil. There will always be chaos. And it looks as if, it's so bad now. We talk about the good old days, but the days before weren't good. I mean, we didn't have phones. I remember I used to wake up, go to Nitel, and I would stay there for 2 days to call China, and I'll come back after 1 week to get a reply. I'll send a fax. So the old days weren't good. So really, it's just for us to put our minds to the essence, the spirituality of the season. Christ didn't come to form a religion. He came to form a relationship. And so really, it's for us to turn ourselves to that relationship. And all of us need it. We all need that change, that salvation.
Well, there you go. That's a very interesting, a fine place to leave it, a food for thought for us all. And don't forget, while you're at it, remember the question we put out. Tell us in one word, we're trying out something. What does Christmas mean to you? We're back in a moment. Stay with us.